charismatic, resourceful, willing to take risks, think outside the box, and color outside the lines. These are the perfect ingredients for an entrepreneur. We love hearing stories about how somebody pulled themselves up from their bootstraps, made something out of nothing. Our TVs are plagued with it. We love the sports teams that are down 3 games to 0 and come back and win it all. We love underdog stories. There's not much context to it, though, because all we see is that person or that team, but we don't see a lot of the people who are surrounded that are speaking into that person's life. The cheerleaders, or the family, the friends, the investors. Charismatic, resourceful, willing to take risks, think outside the box, and color outside the lines, and addiction. This is the perfect ingredients for a felon. This is my resume. It's got quite a few felonies, different cities, different states. My resume wasn't very good when I approached the corporate scene. And I knew that I was going to have to do more than my competitors, the people who were in the sales profession. And I got a chance to interview with a company, a technology company, based on a referral from a friend, a person who spoke into my life time and time again and gave a good word to the owners of this company. Before I showed up there, I had a real entrepreneur thinking, and part of it is because of all the stuff that I had to go through, quickly adapting to different courtrooms, quickly adapting to social workers and boot camps and jails, trying to figure out who's the who, right, and connect with others. So when I showed up there, I went to the thrift store right beforehand, and I bought a suit and I bought some shoes. And I showed up to that interview. And I was really scared about them knowing that I got it at the thrift store. And so what I did is, with my shoes, they were really scuffed up, and I was hungry, and I bought a banana because that was all the money that I had. I had no license, no car. I was applying for an outside sales position, but I didn't want them to necessarily know all that, but I was willing to be transparent about it. And so what I did with the banana is I ate it because I was hungry, and then I used the inside of the banana peel to polish my shoes. And I don't know, if I had not had that dollar to get that banana, you may have a different speaker today, because I may not have showed up to that interview. So I want to talk about entrepreneurs, the fine line between entrepreneurs and felons, and that the skills and the talents that they've built up over time, for instance, like myself, blacking out and waking up in Omaha without, like I said, a license or a car or any transportation, don't know how I got there. My first thought is I should probably figure out what the Amish believe, because that's who I woke up around, right? And the second thought is I need to get home, which was 1,100 miles away, and I was able to do it with no money in 24 hours. And I just worked the network that was around me. So I want to talk about the two times that I went to jail. The first time that I went to jail, I was in 3rd grade for selling nutmeg. I'm just kidding. It was for Cub Scouts. It was kind of a scared straight program. They brought us there, and it was the first time that I realized that we put human beings in cages, right? No matter if they had committed murder or if it was a first-time drug offense, it was the same discipline except different time lengths, right? And it was kind of a unique event for me, because when we went there and they were showing us the jail, my dad had came with, among the other dads, and I knew that we were looking at a cell that my dad had stayed in before. And I could see how the correctional officers had treated him in comparison to the way that they were treating the other dads, because they knew who my dad was. The last time that I went to jail, I was placed in 6-point restraints. I had blood all over me because I tried to eat through my wrist, because I was trying to commit suicide. And I was full of urine, and I was full of puke, because I had just got maced and tased because I took a swing at a police officer in that jail. A few days later, I was released. I thought I was going to be there for a very long time. And a few days later, I was released, again with none of the resources or basic needs that were available to me. And so I had to figure out how to do it. And what I realized is that every time that I got out, I was always able to find a place to stay. I was always able to find a job. I was always able to find things. And it always took people around me that could make an impact in my life, that could speak into my life, that could tell me that I'm better than my past, that I'm not going to be dictated by it. Even though every time I went and applied for a job, and they ran by my resume, and they saw all those felonies, and they would tell me no. Or every time I applied for housing, they would tell me no. Since then, when I got that job at that technology company, and they took a chance on me, they looked at my background, they saw when the owner came in from of the company, he came in with 2 folders, and one was thick and one was thin. And he jokingly says, "I'll let you guess which one's your background check," right? And I knew at that moment that I can either seize the opportunity to joke around with him, or I can keep holding these resentments and this stigma, right? Because everybody knows about the stigma associated with a felon. It's all over the media, right? But what not a lot of people talk about is how the felons stigmatize the community. How we judge you, that you're not going to give us a chance, you're not going to be graceful, and to the point where you'll see it all the time where people just don't leave the homeless shelter because they don't think it's going to work, that we're going to stick in this vicious cycle for a long time. And so after 4 years at this company, becoming pretty successful, went from making little money to a lot of money, I started seeing a lot of my friends that were coming out of jails and prisons not as successful, not as connected. And I think the greatest asset that a person who's coming out of jail or prison or a treatment center is connection with others. You see it all the time, even with herds, right? The sick are left behind to die. And that's what addiction really is. It's an illness. It's a sickness. And we're leaving lots of them in prison to die. So since then, I started this nonprofit called the F5 Project. And this whole sole purpose is to help felons identify with their entrepreneur skills that they learned over time when they come into the community and connect with other felons, right? And then eventually work their way into the community and connect with other nonprofits, right? And then connect with other community members. And then eventually be treated just like everyone else and no longer have to be treated like a second-class citizen that's dictated by a piece of paper. The coolest story that I have right now is a guy named Zach. We went into the jail. We go into the jail every Wednesday night to teach an entrepreneurship class or a mentorship class or financial literacy or whatever. We really just wing it. So when we show up there, we never know what's going to happen. And I meet this guy named Zach, and Zach says that he's going to call me when he gets out. The stipulation is when he gets out, he's going to be transferred 100 miles away to another jail, and he was wondering if I would come pick him up. And this is the internal struggle that I've found since overcoming my past, being successful in the community, is the struggle between ego and impact, right? My ego wants me to just do the things that I want to do, right? I don't want to be too inconvenienced to do things for other people. I've built up in my mind that I need to do me, right? I need to get mine. I need to be an entrepreneur and chase after it. And what I've come to learn since starting the nonprofit is the more that I focus on others, the better I feel about myself. The more I focus on others, the better my surroundings are. The more confident my kids are. The more relationships that I get to build with people in the community. People are attracted by those who serve others. And so Zach calls me at 4:45 on a Friday. I was on my way to pick up my kid, and I was going to go home. I was going to relax all weekend. And he called me, and he's like, "Hey, man, I just got out of jail. I was wondering if you can come pick me up." Honestly, I didn't think he was going to call. And I wanted to go home. But there was something inside me that I needed to eat my words, right? I talk about it in the jail every week, that we need to inconvenience ourselves to serve others if we want a chance at being in real recovery. And so I called up my buddy Dave, and we ran out 100 miles, went and picked him up, and when we got there, Zach was standing outside McDonald's 10 below in shorts and a tank top because he was transferred there originally from California. And when I got there, he got in the car, we ran around the drive-thru, asked him if he was hungry, we ordered some food, and when the guy came to the window, he was like, "Yo, what's up, Zach? How's it going?" And I was like, "Do you know that guy?" He's like, "Yeah, well, not really." I'm like, "How does he know you?" He's like, "Well, I got bored and I knew that I was going to get cold and I needed to stay warm, so I asked for an interview." I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Who's that guy?" He's like, "That's the guy that interviewed me." I was like, "Did you get the job?" He was like, "Yeah, I also got to use him as a reference." I was like, "Dude, you're a baller. I love this." And so on the way home, he's telling me a story about how he's got kids in Seattle and how his kid's mom is in and out of prison as well, and his parents are too, and the addiction is plagued with it, and he's got a bullet in his side or whatever, and like leftover shrapnel or metal or whatever, and he has loss of part use of his arm. But he's gotten used to the feeling because he can't get help with it because he doesn't have insurance. And he's too scared to build up the bills. And so part of the agreement with me coming to pick him up was he had to have a place to go because the F5 house was full, the homeless shelters were full, and I didn't want to just bring him to leave him on the streets. And he told me that he had a place to go. So halfway home, I was like, so where are you going? He's like, well, you know, I met this girl a couple weeks ago. And I was like, he convinced me to come 100 miles to bring him back to our hometown on a lead, right? He didn't know if it was going to work, but in his mind, it always works. He's always figured it out. And so we get to the trailer on the trailer park on the north side, where I'm from. Like the old feelings of watching your back, where are the cops, you know, where's the meth? Like that's, all those memories are coming back. And Zach jumps out of the car, knocks on this trailer, comes back. I look at Dave, I was like, dude, we're gonna get shot. I'm pretty sure about this. I know that guy, right? And so then Zach comes back, he's like, she doesn't live at this trailer, so I'm gonna run over to the one that they told me she lives at, and I'm gonna go knock on that door. And I'm seeing this total entrepreneurship where, like, you know, it's a long, like, we're playing gymnastics here, right? So, like, knocking on doors, hustling phones, like, it's the epitome of what he's doing just to get basic needs met. And so he goes to this trailer, and he comes back, he's like, she's not home, she's at her boyfriend's trailer right now, so I'm gonna run over there real quick. I was like, we're gonna get shot. This is a given. I'm gonna leave. Zach, you need to figure this out. And so he goes over, knocks on that trailer. I can't see him. He comes back, and he gets into the trunk of my car, grabs his stuff. He's like, well, the boyfriend's not cool with me staying with her, but he's going to let me stay with him. So we're good, right? And since then, Zach's gotten a job. He's getting his license back. He's focused on staying sober and doing what he's got to do to be a better person. And it all, in my belief, happened because of the people around him, people who come into the meetings, right, in the jail, people who are speaking into him since he got out. So my goal here today is that we can have a greater impact on our community if we can help those who are coming out of jail, out of prison, out of treatment centers, focus on the things that they can actually utilize their entrepreneurial skills instead of trying to focus on their basic needs. The greatest impact that we'll have is to be inconvenienced on a daily basis to help those who need us.